If you are new to playing with paint, or maybe it's been a while and you want to let your inner artist out to play, you might be wondering, where do I start? What do I need to do to get going? So I invite you to watch along today as I paint and learn about how to start so you can start having fun with painting. So, I remember a few years back when I would have all of these ideas. All of these ideas would come to me about what I wanted to paint and what I wanted to create. And I had this sketchbook. I had this little sketchbook that I would write everything in and write it all down. Even if it was just an idea for something, I kind of just write down the little details that would come to mind of like the size or the shape or the colors. Sometimes I would sketch out actually like what that would look like on the canvas. And so all of these things would come to me, just a flow of creativity. Things were happening and I would sketch them all in this sketchbook. And but then once it came time to paint, I was totally frozen. I was totally paralyzed. I didn't end up, when I had time, I was a new mom, had a newborn, and so that time was so precious when I had some me time. And yet, when I got to that space, when I got to that time, I ended up doing just brain numbing things like vegging out in front of the TV, just, kind of wasting that time. And I wasn't able to use that time as creatively as I had wanted to because I was just so paralyzed by the fears that came up that I didn't create. I didn't paint. I had all these fantastic ideas and they were in my sketchbook ready to be painted. But when it really came time to doing it, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And so, first of all, I want to let you know that if that's you, that is okay. I understand if you have obstacles or things, issues that are popping up and are getting in the way of your creative time. I get it, but once you're ready to start painting, once you're ready to go, there is one thing you've got to do to get yourself to the canvas and start painting. And that one thing is, accepting where we are. Accept where you are and start with where you're at. So I just want to share some of those tips and encouragement that I have for doing just that so you can start having fun and start painting and playing at the canvas. So I've got some tips for you today. Are you ready? All right. So I'm going to flip the camera around so you can see what I'm painting because, of course, I'm also painting today. I can't not chat and paint. So I'm going to flip you around, get you a little bit of a closer view so you can see what I'm working on. So let's do that. That looks pretty good. Let's turn this around a little bit. And we can get started. So, where we are, what does that mean exactly? So let's put my glasses on so I can see my canvas. Let me find my pen and let's just start. So what does it mean to start with where you're at? The first thing is remembering who you are. You were born creative. You don't lose that part of yourself. You were born with it. It's always a part of yourself. And even though you may have lost touch with this part of yourself, it's always there. So, remember the kid in you that could, get out your crayons and start drawing stuff. Remember that kid. Go all the way back to drawing those first pieces of artwork with crayons. Remember how easy it was, how fun it was. Don't you remember it being the best feeling ever? And if you can't remember yourself, watch a kid. Watch a kid creating and diving in and creating something And I think that will help you remember. Because they do it so easily. We do it so easily as kids. It's once we get to adulthood that we forget, and we got to remember, because that's really what it's all about. It wasn't about it being perfect, and it wasn't about getting it right 100% of the time. You just sat down and you did it, and you loved it. And you loved what you made. You're proud of what you made, what you painted. That's what we got to tap into. We got to remember, we got to recall who we really are. Because once, we're creative, we're always creative. It just doesn't go away. Let me get out this yellow here. And put some on my palette. But I think I'm going to take this and just start dabbing on. So we got to focus on the process. It's another thing. It's not about the end result. This is about the process. There's often a disconnect, especially when you're starting out, between what you want to be able to do. You might have an idea in your head, and then what you actually want to do might be two different things. So we got to let that go, and it's really about the process. And step by step, just kind of enjoying every step, every decision, and, treat yourself like a kid. You didn't expect that little kid, your younger self, to be perfect and do it right every time and be better than she was ready for. You got to let her grow, let her experience and discover things at the pace that she's ready for. And that might be slower than what you wish for. Might not be as fast as you want it to be right now, but you got to let yourself do it. Let yourself revel in the process. Revel in the doing. Be a beginner. Be okay with being a beginner. Get this cool, kind of like a limey green. Actually, yeah, they call it lime sherbet. What do you know? And when you're a beginner, you might not have the skills yet to make that vision truly come forth on your canvas just yet, but that's okay. There's a gap. There might be a gap between what you're feeling inside, what you're thinking inside, and what's happening on the canvas. But that is okay. Because that gap, it's a gap. And as you continue to paint, as you continue to progress, that gap, it is going to close. Because that's what happens when your aim is to express what's inside of you. And you keep working at it. Eventually, it's got to come. There's just no other way. You have to get okay with that. That, it's better to be bad at first than not to be bad at all, right? So you got to quiet that inner voice, that critic that says, oh, you're just making garbage. Quiet that voice down so you can paint. And you can let more of who you know yourself to be out. The only thing that matters when you're committed to the process is the process. Is that you're making and that you're creating. It's not about the quality. That will come. So you just sit down and you do it. That's it. And then you give yourself credit for sitting down and doing it. You celebrate that success. That is a success, to sit down and do it. You can judge the quality later. Plenty of time for that. Critique yourself all you want. In a self-scheduled critiquing session. You can learn from your mistakes, turn those mistakes around and figure out how they can be opportunities, what you want to do differently. But when you're making and creating, let that be the goal. When you're starting out, make sure you set yourself up for having a relaxed mind to step into it. Calm yourself before the painting even begins, and do whatever that means for you. For me, everybody's different, but for me, I always have something to drink nearby, right? Always. So it might be a cup of hot tea. Actually, I could use one. It might be a glass of cold water. Something else that I've used, and this will come out from time to time, is my courage candle. I'll light it, have it lit. And this one, actually, I love it. So it does say courage. And it says, "Let me harness my fears in a positive way to create strength in difficult situations. Give me a warrior's confidence to do what is right, not what is easy." And so, lighting a candle might be helpful for you. And, having that lit could bring you a sense of calm that you need. That would be helpful for you when you sit down at the table and start painting. Listen to your creative voice. So, nope, that's kind of dry now. I might add some more yellow. A little bit more green. So listening to your creative voice and starting with what feels right. That creative voice is there to speak to you. She wants to communicate with you. She wants to be able to tell you what's fun, what feels good, what she wants more of, what techniques she wants to do, what colors she wants to play with. It's really important to connect with that voice. It's super fun. Just kind of adding some texture in there with scraping. Works well with the wet paint. So really listening to that creative voice. And then tapping into your unique sense of play. So how you play is going to be different than how I play. Or, what I play with. Like, I'm going to choose different colors, that are going to resonate for me. You're going to pick colors that resonate with you. So your paint palette might look a whole lot different than my paint palette. I'm just looking for my white right now. So connecting with, tapping into that your unique, way that you like to paint. What do I want to use next? So that's important, is to, play with paint by using whatever looks fun, sounds like fun, is fun to you. We each have our own unique way of playing and enjoying the process. and then following that play until you're done, right? Like really listening and having a conversation to know, like, what's my next step? What do I want to do next? What do I want to play with next? What kind of a technique do I want to play with next? Really following that play, like letting yourself enjoy that play and following it for as long as, makes sense to you until you decide what's done, what's complete. Really following that along. What gets you the most excited? What colors get you the most excited? What kinds of marks make you the most excited? Your composition. What really jazzes you with composition? What kind of tools do you like to play with that really get you jazzed up? Maybe it's your paintbrush. Maybe it's a card. Maybe it's a stamping tool. So really following that play and following where that play wants to go, and then deciding when that play is done. So I wish I had known 10 years ago that I didn't have to have everything figured out. When I sat with my sketchbook full of ideas, I really wish someone had told me, you don't have to have it all figured out. And you have the courage to start with where you are. And so, 10 years ago, the thought of starting really paralyzed me. And I didn't, I put off starting for a long time. And, I really had to figure it out. And I was too focused on my limitations to get started. And so accepting those limitations is a part of it. And accepting where you are right now is the most important thing that you can do so you can get painting, get playing, and get having fun and expressing really what's in here onto the canvas. So, it's okay to start with where you are. Remember who you are. Once you're creative, you're always a creative. And think back to that time when you were a young artist and that delight that you had in drawing or painting, and how easy it was and how fun it was, and you could just spend hours doing it, and time would fly by, and how proud you were of that artwork when you did it, and how proud you were to show other people. And focus on the process, not on the outcome. When we're focused on the process, things flow, that we can have fun, we can let go. It's not about creating that perfect canvas every single time. It's about the process, and it's about the play. Starting with what feels right, and, listening to that inner voice and tapping into that unique sense of play that only you have. You've got it in you, and there are things that you are going to gravitate to, whether it's tools or the colors or the composition or the elements of your design that are going to speak to you and that are just dying to be expressed. So tap into that unique sense of play and then follow that play. Follow that play until you say it's done. All right, so I hope you found some of these tips and bits of encouragement helpful. I am so excited. I've got some really fun stuff coming down the pike super, super soon. So stay tuned. And if you enjoyed this and you found this helpful, give it a thumbs up, give it a like, let me know. And I hope you have a wonderful day, because the more people painting, the more beautiful our world will be. So have a good one, and I will see you next time at the canvas. All right, bye for now.